Good morning, my name is Tom Elliott. It's Tuesday and this is my market report. Now, big news yesterday, AMP has relaunched its bid for AXA. I say relaunched because about a year and a half ago almost now, AMP made a bid for AXA and then improved the bid, declared it final, and then it was gazumped by the National Australia Bank, whose bid was recommended by the AXA board, then subsequently not allowed by the regulator, the ACCC. Well, the market's been waiting quite a while for AMP to come back. The ACCC has said that it doesn't mind AMP and AXA merging, and it looks like this morning that's what will happen. Interestingly, the new bid, which is cash and shares, is pitched at exactly the same price as NAB's old cash bid, that is $6.43 per AXA share. This morning we know that 5 out of 6 AXA directors, independent directors I should say, have decided to approve the bid. The bid does require unanimous approval, so there is one more director who's going to have to say yes. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen, and the market thinks so too. AXA shares are up around 9 cents to $6.26. Given that the deal won't complete until probably March, April next year, $6.26 now versus $6.43 then, plus a 9-cent dividend from AXA is still a pretty good price. So we're going to see two of the large competitors in the wealth management space merge to become one. As I said, Canberra not at all concerned by this because its attention is all focused on the big banks and their interest rate rises. And speaking of that, some of you might have seen in the paper this morning that plans to possibly remove fees on so-called foreign ATMs, that is where you get hit for $2. The head of the Commonwealth Bank has described these plans as akin to Soviet-style communism, appropriation of private property. So we are going to see the war of words when it comes to banking and banking services heating up between the banks and between the politicians. AWB shareholders meet this morning to vote on the takeover from Agrium, that's the Canadian agricultural conglomerate. It's $1.50 a share and looks almost certain to go through. BHP is in an interesting situation at the moment. Now, I learned yesterday that BHP has spent over $800 million launching and then abandoning bids for Rio, then a joint venture with Rio in Western Australia, and of course the most recent bid for Potash Corp Saskatchewan. That's a lot of money for Marius Kloppers to have spent for absolutely no result, and the pressure is well and truly on him to either do a deal or start handing cash back in big lumps to shareholders. Now, BHP has resurrected a share buyback program worth about $4.2 billion, but this is very small compared to the company's overall capacity. And as I mentioned, Marius Kloppers at the upcoming AGM is really going to have to say what his plan is. And of course, many people think that that could include a bid for Woodside Petroleum. One of the big differences between BHP and Rio is that BHP has an oil and gas division, largely centred on Bass Strait between Victoria and Tasmania, whereas Rio doesn't. Because BHP has that division, it would make sense for it to bid for Woodside, except the Woodside is very, very expensive. However, its major shareholder, Shell, has decided to sell its stake down, so it would be an easy thing for BHP to come in, buy that stake, bid for the whole company. Other potential targets for BHP include Origin and Santos, with their coal seam gas projects on the east coast of Australia. The $A has been a bit weak the past few days. Now, there's a new crisis, or a new old crisis in Europe, that is Ireland looks like it might have to go back to the EU for a bailout. Probably no surprise really. Islands like Greece, Portugal, Spain, and to a lesser extent Italy has some terrible budget and debt problems, and it seems the richer nations of the EU, such as France and Germany, may have to advance at many more tens of billions of euros. When you see this sort of trouble emerging on global exchanges, you find that people are going to the perceived safety of the US dollar. Although that's odd when you think about it, because the Americans have got just as big problems as anybody, and in fact are in the process of printing 600 billion new US dollars to hopefully get themselves out of recession. Anyway, the $A as we speak, buying 98.3 US cents, and that is all. Talk to you again next week.
What to tell